build up such an oppressive board state that there's not much Liam's going to be able to do to get through it.
And all of this, of course, powered out by one of the most absurd cards that they've printed in a long time. I mean, they printed it a long time ago, to be fair, but just reading what is written on this card, it's so silly, right?
It is silly, and they keep giving it to us. Like they put it in Foundation, so we now have this card until 2029, unless they keep printing it in newer standard sets when we get close to it rotating. So Omniscience could be a problem for the next 4 years.
And this card has seen play in a lot of formats over the years. Of course, it's going to be a Commander All-Star, but I've played against this card in Vintage of all formats. You know, the format where you can do anything, play any card in Magic's history.
And why wouldn't you play Omniscience?
Because it costs 10.
But it costs 4 for Rowan, so...
4 is a lot of mana. Anyway, we have a temporary lockdown, 3 Roiling Dragon Storms, and all of the creatures from Liam's side. Another Spyglass Siren. So, is that another Preacher as well?
It is another Preacher.
And that was going in the graveyard.
We've got a 2/2.
What are we searching for then? What are the outs? How do we beat this Meringue River region?
I mean, we could get a Go for the Throat, which is probably one of our few removals to deal with it. That Liam could be digging for. I'm sure Liam would have liked to have like a Shieldred on the board, which would have Rowan wouldn't be able to dig with a Shieldred on board because he would just be losing so much life from drawing cards.
Some of the card draw is sort of put it in your hand rather than draw in a moment of truth.
It's true, but those Roiling Dragon Storms specifically are.
We see a second temporary lockdown, just 1 for 1 here.
Just to take that pesky 2/2 out of the way.
And saying, I'd like to go to combat, and we see a Flood Pits Drowner here just to tap down the Meringue River region. Buy a couple more turns, and that's honestly some relevant time with Rowan on 7.
Rowan on 7, and now you've got a 2/1 with Vigilance that can attack in. That's big.
I have to ask though, Abuelo's Omniscience, does it have flying, or is it just a 1/1 on the ground?
It's a 1/1 spirit with flying.
Okay.
So it.
Okay, so the Flood Pit Drowner not so useful.
You can block with the Omniscience. It's true.
What an absurd statement. All right, Liam's drawn and played another Preacher of the Schism. Even after exploring one into the graveyard, still had another one on the top of the deck.
Yeah.
And one under the temporary lockdown as well. So it's all Preachers all the way down. And we're choosing to shuffle away the Meringue River region. Taking another one from Underground River. This Meringue River region, it's just never going to die. It goes on an adventure, shuffles itself in, and then
it's hard to remove. You've basically got to counter it and get it in the bin, and then hope that it never ever comes back.
And even the Flood Pits Drowners can't stop shuffling it into the library.
Nope, that could come back too. That could be on the top right now.
Yep.
So.
All right, Rowan untapping, drawing for untapping's a bit.
Well, do you even need to untap when you've got 2 Omniscience?
There was an untap step.
Yeah.
Drawing for turn.
3 Omniscience is in play.
Why not 3?
It's not ideal.
Okay, so
after the first 2, you really don't want to see any more.
We have 36 mana worth of enchantments in play right now for Rowan.
If you could fling an enchantment, we'd be cooking.
Preacher of the Schism coming across, attacking the player with less life.
Left life. So we're not making a 1/1 vampire with lifelink because Liam does not need to gain any more life. Does get to draw a card, does lose life.
Chump blocking with my Omniscience. That's just what we do sometimes. And a stock up off the top. This is not what you want to see if you're in Liam's seat, right?
That is not what. That is probably an all-star in Standard right now. Stock up. Look at the top 5. Take 2 of the best. Your opponent doesn't get to see what the 2 are. You could pick lands, which Rowan is definitely not going to pick lands here. Got plenty of lands, plenty of Omniscience in play.
If I'm not mistaken, this is currently the most played card in Standard.
I would hazard a guess that it is probably the most played card in Standard. It is in the Prowess deck, which is a very strong contender in the format. I mean, it came out in Aether Drift and kind of snuck in, and once people got a hold of it, they want it in everything. If you're running blue, why not a stock up?
It's crazy because you mentioned Is It Prowess? This is a deck that doesn't really want to take the game super long. You know, you don't really see these 3-mana card advantage spells that often in super expensive, super aggressive and tempo-oriented decks. But they're still happy to play it,
But
even at sorcery speed.
Because even at sorcery speed, because you want to cast that second spell and you only need it to be a 1-mana spell after that. You know, you only need it to be an Opt or a Monstrous Rage, and like what's stock up going to find you? It's going to find you the cards that you want.
Sure, I guess you can find a land and a
a
1-mana spell.
And a 1-mana spell. That's all you need.
We see the trainer here making an offspring. Unfortunately, our lovely pile of tokens doesn't include every offspring
It doesn't
creature.
include every offspring. Otherwise, we might be here all day. 'Cause, we've got otters, but not specifically Thundertrap Trainer otters. And like, props to anybody that has the official Thundertrap Trainer token. That one's a hard one to track down. That's
If you're in the venue today and you have a Thundertrap Trainer token, come give it to us.
mythic rare token.
So we're resolving both of the Thundertrap Trainer abilities here. Seeing a lot of cards and putting some number of them into the hand. It's basically dig through time if you kick this card, right? You look at 4 and take 1 and look at 4 and take 1.
Yeah.
It's most of a dig through time, you know.
And it's got a body on it.
And what do we find? We find more cards to look at more cards. And then more cards to look at more cards.
This is probably one of the few decks that gets to see probably its whole deck. Short of decking out, we're going to see every card.
We've got some spice in the room today, but I've got to tell you, I didn't find a mill deck. Maybe some poison, maybe some reanimator, but I didn't find mill. So this is the closest we're going to be to seeing every card in a player's deck.
Yeah, mill would have been possible. We do have the Jace from March of the Machine that can mill for quite a large amount. I have played the Omniscience deck and lost to the Perfected Mind milling me out when I've already thinned my deck out so far.
That's great. What are you doing if you're in Liam's seat here? As a player, you're sitting here, the writing's on the wall, your opponent is sifting through the vast majority of their library. What can you do? How do you keep your mental okay? Are you just thinking about game 2? Are you just thinking about sideboarding?
I think you, especially against combo decks, you always want to see them play it out the first game. You want to see them play it out. You want to see it's open deck lists for this event, so you know the full list of the cards. So it's not like you're trying to find out what is in the deck, but it is good to see the combo and maybe see some information from your opponent, maybe some tells on whether or not they have something in hand in the early game, and fully see what the combo gets to. That's enough.
We found the combo there
Liam.
of 2 dragons
Yeah.
to bounce each other and a Founding the Third Path. Okay, all right, bit of a long game 1, longer than I was expecting for game 1, but we have 2 players here. They're both from Melbourne, actually. One of them plays at the Games District, which is actually very close to where we are now here in Coburg in Melbourne in the northern suburbs. Liam loves playing there, and Rowan, a regular at Games Portal out in the eastern suburbs. I believe Rowan has been at every regional championship.
That's impressive.
Since the pandemic. Loves the grind, loves playing, plays to win as well. As we see the players consulting each other's deck list here and their sideboard notes. We also have access to their deck lists, and we can look at what they will be sideboarding in. So let's look at Liam's sideboard first as non-victorious in game 1 here. We've got a couple of Fairy Mastermind, Scavenger Regent, a Sheoldred. Is that a second one in the sideboard? Yeah, one in the main, one in the board. A couple of Tidebinders, some extra discard spells, and a Ghost Vacuum. What do you think from these is worth bringing in here?
I reckon we are definitely bringing in the 2 Ghost Vacuums.
Yep.
Because that is... It will remove the key cards from the graveyard. So it will remove the Omniscience. It will require Rowan to temporary lockdown or counter the Ghost Vacuum. Temporary lockdown can very easily stay in this match given the number of small creatures that Liam's playing. The bats, temporary lockdown deals with the bats. Probably can bring in...
Would you like the discard? Would you like the disdainful strokes, perhaps?
Disdainful Stroke will deal with Abuelos.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't deal with the
lockdown.
smaller things. It does counter a river. It does counter the dragon.
Sure.
Which is important because the dragon getting into the graveyard is almost impossible to recover from. But then there's 3 more of them, so you've gotten rid of 1.
And what could you possibly board out to make room for these? Obviously, you can't board out everything and board in everything. You know, you've got 7 removal spells in the main deck. You've got some soft counter magic that you're looking to replace with your disdainful strokes. It could be enduring curiosities that come out.
It could be the enduring curiosities that come out. They're a bit high costed and a bit slow against a deck that can functionally get to a board state that will win the game on turn 4.
Well, speaking of that deck, let's look at their sideboard. The Blue-White Omniscience deck has access to some Beezers, some Overlords, if you're looking to take the game longer. A couple of more niche removal spells. Exercise, change the equation as a counterspell for not this matchup. Get Lost, and then a couple more niche counterspells, a second minor misstep and a negate.
I'm probably bringing in the Voice of Victory
here,
which is Grand Abolisher with more.
Okay.
It's Grand Abolisher with the benefit of Mobilize, which when it attacks, you get to make a warrior.
Sure.
So it's your opponent can't cast spells during your turn. That's pretty good. You get to be like, I lock this down. It can't get you play it. Your opponent can't remove it that turn.
Sure.
They can only remove it in their own turn, which cuts them off of mana. And it means that there's just no way to interact once we...
You know that once your combo starts, then it's safe.
It's safe. Your opponent is stuck. They cannot cast anything.
Would you look to board in the Beezers and the Overlords to sort of take the game longer? Or are they, Beezers obviously really good when your life total's under pressure. What do you think?
Look, I'm not sure that I personally would bring in some Overlords in this. I don't think the game needs to go longer, especially with how long game 1 went. I mean, you could try and draw it out, and if say the next game went for 23 minutes and 5 turns, Rowan would win from.
Yeah, Rowan would win if he won. If game 2 was a draw, Rowan being up a game would take the match.
Yeah.
Looks like Rowan's just putting the final touches on his sideboarding here. All right, giving back the deck lists. Of course, this is an open deck list event here at the Regional Championship. How does that change how you deck build, how you choose what deck you want to play for an event? If you're coming with something that's going to surprise people, you lose a lot of the benefit of, hey, no one knows what I'm playing. I'm going to get them with this one of. Or
it definitely does ruin the element of surprise, and it does actually make these combo decks a little bit harder to bring to these events because your opponent gets to see up front that you're running this combo, which means that they get to mulligan knowing that they're against a combo deck. So they're more likely to keep the hand disruption, or the cards are going to be better, or the faster hand if you're playing a more aggro deck that's going. You're going to make sure that I'm going to kill you before you even get a chance to combo off.
Does the same extend to the aggressive decks though? You talk about these like Heartfire Hero decks and Cacophony Scamp that really ask you, do you have the removal spell on turn 1 or turn 2? Do they suffer from the open deck lists as well?
I don't think they do. And I think it's because they're just so well pitted in the format as it is and as it stands, and that they're quite resilient to removal in that a lot of them do something when they're removed.
True.
Like a Heartfire Hero, you remove it, but if it dies, you're still going to take damage from that.
Still take the damage, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we see the players spending the first couple of turns doing nothing, sculpting their hand, getting ready for the rest of the game. Land, go, land, Roiling Dragonstorm counterspell, as we're here on Liam's turn 3 with a Preacher of the Schism.
Great. That's a great clock to have.
It is. I really like this card.
It's a great card. Card draw, Death Touch, deals damage. There's not much more you could really want out of a 3-drop. It is one of the better black 3-drops in the format at the moment.
We see a Clarion Conqueror coming down. This was one from the sideboard.
It will shut off Liam's Kaito, if I'm correct. As the Planeswalker abilities won't be able to be activated.
Okay, yeah. When I see the card, all I think about is the shutting off the artifacts. Obviously, it's a Stony Silence with wings, you know, but it stops creatures, it stops Planeswalkers.
It would stop the Flood Pit of the Drowner activating to do the shuffle effect.
Sure.
It doesn't do that much more.
Maps.
It's not going to turn off Omniscience. It's not an activated ability, so...
Yep.
But
I guess it's just Maps, Kaito, and I guess part of the reason you would board it in is it's a 3/3.
It's a 3/3 flyer. Which is great. That will eat bats. It will eat Siren Storm Tamers, even if they've explored once. It would eat a Preacher of the Schism, but would trade. So.
And it doesn't go under your own temporary lockdown as well?
It does not go under a temporary lockdown, unlike your Dragon Storms. They do end up getting eaten by temporary lockdown, which is not always where you want them. But
we saw an Overlord there being impendinged and eating a Disdainful Stroke.
Because even impended, their mana value is still that printed in the top. So.
And surprise, it's a Kaito. The vampire that attacked was actually just Kaito wearing a vampire hat. So we're getting a bit of damage coming across here. If you're in Liam's seat, you could actually tap that Underground River and go to 18 and get both benefits from Preacher. But alas, we're past that point now.
It's too late now.
All right, so Kaito, of course, ninjutsuing in just a little bit cheaper, gets the surprise factor, gets around counter magic, although Rowan was already tapped out here, and getting to activate, get a card out of it for the low price of losing the vampire token.
It's a pretty good price to pay, I'd say. Kaito's a bit of a menace, being able to be snuck out like that.
Well, if this game keeps on this trajectory, this is going to be much quicker, and we are going to see a game 3 unless Rowan can pull something out here. That Overlord would have done a lot of work in slowing things down.
Absolutely. Making 2/1 flyers would have helped a lot.
Is it every turn that it makes the 2/1s?
No, so it's on enter, and then it's when it attacks, and it's impended. It's not going to attack for a while.
Sure. Yep. I did play against that card in Commander last night.
Okay.
It was very scary. We can see Liam's hand here. I can see a Enduring Innocence, a Sheoldred, and is that a Dreams? Not a Dreams, it's a something.
The typical Magic player experience of flicking your cards so fast that we can't quite see what's in there.
You've got to spend all the energy you've got buzzing in you. This is round 1. This is a 8-round event.
Yeah.
So right now these players are full of energy. Perhaps in 5 rounds' time they'll be a little happier to just sit there and let what happens happen,
Yeah.
Roiling Dragonstorm was the play for Rowan on the previous turn, and Kaito making an emblem.
Ninjas get +1/+1, and Kaito himself being a ninja benefits from that.
Let's have a look here at Kaito as one of the stranger cards in Standard. It's not simple,
It's not simple. It's not simple, especially in a format that also has Tashana's Tidebinder in it.
Yeah, and this is a huge board.
And then the Ghost Vacuum to take the Omniscience. That's not what you want to see for Rowan.
So Kaito here with the ninjutsu ability coming in, being able to get into the red zone on the first turn that it comes in for a little cheaper, get around counter magic, and then still gets to activate. And then it's not a planeswalker on your turn, just a creature?
It's just a creature on your turn. It's not a planeswalker.
But you could still use the loyalty abilities.
You can. You do not need to be a planeswalker to use loyalty abilities, which is a funky interaction.
Magic is strange.
Magic is strange. Yeah, that was a great board state from Liam there with the Shieldred, meaning that there's only so many cards Rowan can draw before dying. So yeah, that timely Ghost Vacuum I think really sealed it, taking that Omniscience. Which means we do get to go to a game 3.
Yeah, that was a quicker one.
That was a much quicker game 2.
Means that they should have plenty of time for game 3 here. I mentioned before, if you were in Liam's seat and your opponent's playing out a long combo, what are you doing? I think it's important to touch on the mental fatigue that you can get playing an 8-round event, playing competitive Magic for 8 hours straight. And I think it's actually really good sometimes if your opponent's just like, I'm going to do things for 5 minutes straight. And
yeah, if your opponent's going to play solitaire, you can take that time to rest a bit and mentally reset on, okay, well, this game is a wash, and I know it's a wash.
Yep.
I'm just going to let it happen.
Yep.
And
your opponent still has to spend mental energy during that game. They still have to do the thing.
They chose to combo out, so. But yes, they've got to get the win. Just because they've essentially shown their hand that they are going to win doesn't mean that you're forced to concede. So.
Would you see much changing in sideboarding for game 3? I think both players just consulted the deck list and then didn't make any changes.
I mean, there is something to be said about the difference of being on the play and the draw, on what you want to see in turn 1, turn 2. Because I mean, sometimes it is just land go, but sometimes if you're on the play, you might want to be land duress before your opponent gets to do anything with their hand.
Discard a little better on the play, yeah. Versus, I guess the spell pierces a little better on the draw.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you want to be having both. So
yeah,
I don't think there's much change that needs to go on. I mean, that game went pretty smoothly for Liam, so he's probably pretty comfortable.
And one more of those, please.
Yes, I will order a second one of those, please.
So it looks like Rowan's on a mulligan to 6 here, and Liam might have a 7. Just an island for Rowan, nothing else, no crazy turn 1s. We'll see some big turn 1s and turn 2s in some other matchups. But here we do see the turn 1 duress. Roiling Dragonstorm, Moment of Truth, and
it's 3
2 more Roiling Dragonstorms. Great, so these are your options.
Yeah.
And one other land. So this is a 6-card hand.
Yeah. It's not a bad one. All 4 of those cards get you more cards.
It's not a bad one, but it's not a good one. You actually just don't know what it is.
It's true. You could end up seeing just so many lands from this.
It's the old, living end where I actually don't know what my starting hand is. It's got 2 street wraiths and a 1-cost cycler, so I don't know how many lands I have. Spells
but it makes it pretty good in terms of against an opponent that's going to be running duress, because there's only so many things that you could have taken there. If you took a Roiling Dragonstorm, well, there's still 2 more. Take the Moment of Truth, well, at least there's no Moment of Truth, but there's still 3 Roiling Dragonstorms. There's nothing really to grab that's going to be, and there's not a lot of information there because the information's going to change.
So we did see turn 2 Roiling Dragonstorm discarding a land. Obviously found at least one, probably found a second one, a third in the game, I guess. And then this second Dragonstorm discarding Omniscience. That's scary.
That is scary.
But it's sort of scary for both players because you've seen that Liam has Ghost Vacuums, right?
The Ghost Vacuum could come out and take the Omniscience.
Yeah. You've got much less reliability in sort of going for it on turn 4 here.
You do. It's hard to go on it with turn 4 when your opponent's passed with 3 untapped lands.
In the most interactive colours in Magic as well.
Yes. That is, we could have the Disdainful Stroke and a Spell Pierce. There's a lot. Or even just representing, right? You might not have it, but you're representing that you have it, and that's enough of a threat to not go for it.
Yeah, the threat of the counterspell is just as damaging. Well, all of the Roiling Dragonstorms have been resolved. Out. Liam now knows nothing about Rowan's hand.
Yeah, the hand is now, it's a completely new hand, completely unknown, so...
And another island discarded, so I'm assuming that we're going to have a 5th land here from Rowan as a Preacher of the Schism comes down for Liam. We saw this card putting on a clock as well. I think it drew a card in the previous game as well. Just one.
Yeah, just one, which is enough. That's fine. It doesn't always have to make a vampire.
I mean, by the end of that game with the Kaito, the Shieldred, the Ghost Vacuum, you didn't need any more cards. You'd need a crazy board wipe to get rid of all of that.
Yeah, which the Omniscient decks they're not running. They're not or that Sunfall realm
or Planar Cleansing.
Day of Judgment.
Yep. Stock up. Again, a Spell Pierce.
Hades to the Spell Pierce.
Talk to me. Why are we Spell Piercing this stock up with 2 mana available? Are we worried about a 2-drop coming down afterwards? A land's already been played for the turn, so you're not worried about, land Clarion Conqueror or something like that. Are we making sure that we can't play a removal spell that we find off the stock
It's possible that we're trying to avoid a removal spell off the stock up, or having a counter spell for what Liam maybe next wants to do. Like if Liam wants to drop down a Shieldred, Liam would now be able to do so. If Liam wants to drop down a Ghost Vacuum to try and grab the Omniscience now, that's doable.
Okay, so it's sort of an aggressive spell pierce.
It is quite an aggressive spell pierce, and it puts you in a position, right? Like if your opponent doesn't pay for it, then you might know that you get some information from that, and you might get a bit of fear from that.
You could be stoked as well, like you just spell pierce to stock up.
I love a spell pierce to stock up when my opponent could pay for it and didn't. That's pretty good.
Good. I got a flash of Liam's hand there. I think I saw a Kaito. I didn't see a Shieldred, but that doesn't mean that there isn't one.
It does not mean that there isn't one. So drawing a card, making a vampire. Life totals haven't changed yet, so it looks like we are going to bring out Kaito, returning that creature.
There it is, yep.
Right.
And Rowan was sitting there hovering over the life total button.
Am I taking damage?
I'm assuming something's happening here. What's
damage
going
am I
on?
taking? Is it Kaito damage or is it Preacher damage?
All right, and Kaito, of course, going to come in here. Look at the top 2. One in hand. That's a bat and a...
It looks like maybe a Disdainful Stroke.
The other Disdainful Stroke in hand... there's also... By the way, there's a Disdainful Stroke in hand. It's the old bordered one.
You're going to mix up the art sometimes. It does make it a little bit hard.
Both going in the graveyard.
Don't want them.
Even Rowan had to look at it.
Yeah.
Took something else instead. Not taking a bat here, so I guess I'm expecting we'll see a pass and hold up a stroke. Your opponent's got an Omniscience in the graveyard, and never mind.
I don't need that bat. I've got one from home.
Are we talking about mixing up artworks?
Well, it's hard. The bat that has just entered play was a store championship promo for participation. So everyone would have gotten one that participated, but it then makes it hard to get a play set. It is a very nice bat, but yeah, mixing up the artworks.
Well, let's have a look in the hand here. We have 2 copies of Get Lost, speaking of promo artworks, a Clarion Conqueror and a Blast Zone, and 1 Abuelo's Awakening. So 2 removal spells, both can answer this bat at a moment's notice. A Clarion Conqueror to turn off the goodies that you get from Get Lost.
Yeah.
And 1 Reanimate spell for the Omniscience.
Yeah, so Rowan is able to now... Liam's tapped out. On Rowan's turn, assuming the Abuelos isn't taken, Rowan could reanimate the Omniscience, but then doesn't have anything. Doesn't have anything. The Get Lost doesn't do anything. Blaststone's not going to do anything. And the Clarion's... It doesn't draw cards. We're kind of bricked a bit there, unless what's on the top card, what's on the top of the deck.
I still feel like you've got to take the Abuelo's Awakening, though, right? I mean,
you do.
Liam agrees.
You can't take a Get Lost because he'll just use the Get Lost.
Yep.
You take the Abuelos, it's forced to use the Get Lost.
Yep. All right, and we do see land number 6, and
Blast Zone.
There's tapping all 6 here to...
All right, hang on.
I think this was tap, Get Lost the thing, and then cast the Abuelo's Awakening.
Yes, okay, we were just speeding through it. I thought we were putting counters on Blast Zone. There was a lot going on. All right.
Getting some maps, of course, from the Get Lost. What a cool, flavorful card, And the Omniscience is a 1/1 creature. And what was the extra card drawn? I don't think we're going to find... the Clarion Conqueror is a dragon. We're silly. How do we not know this?
That's the missing
Okay,
piece.
yeah, sure.
Yep.
And that's why it's so easy to board in here. You know, we don't have to stress about, is this the highest value card? We're sort of happy with it being a body and a dragon.
And a dragon, that's the missing piece. It being a dragon is all the difference in the world.
And
All right.
3 Roiling Dragonstorms. That's going to go so deep.
That is going to go very deep, and now it's no longer a bricked hand of get lost.
So
it's
we've
a lot
discarded
more.
2 lands and an omniscience, which are not cards that we knew about, but there's a Meringue River region. We're going to bounce our dragon as well, so we have 3 Dragonstorms returning and a dragon returning. And this is again a moment where Liam is just, all right, I'm mentally on lunch right now, I think.
Yeah, where am I going to go for lunch?
Kaito's back in hand here as we see Rowan going through these Roiling Dragonstorms. A 6th one for the turn, by the way. For 0 mana.
Must be nice.
And another Meringue River region,
Yeah,
so we're going to see every card in the deck.
That's enough. That's enough for Liam. Liam's like, I've seen it. I'm done.
A marathon game 1 into 2 very quick game 2s.
Yep.
Let's bring it back into the booth and talk about the event. Welcome back to the booth. Jim Dowling, Rihanna Milton.
Rihanna Milton, yeah. That's me.
That was a cool round 1.
It was a very cool round 1.
We missed the first 5 minutes.
We did miss the first 5 minutes, but that's fine. We jumped straight in, and it ended up being a long game. So it wasn't we jumped in and it was all over.
Which is lucky, because if we missed the first 5 minutes of game 2 or game 3, we wouldn't have had a game 2 or game 3.
It would have been nothing.
Would have skipped the game entirely.
Skipped the game entirely. We would have missed it.
Blue-White Omniscience and Dimir Midrange. They're not the most popular deck in the room today.
They definitely aren't.
We will have that data for you very soon, I believe. Of course, Jeskai Prowess, 30-something% of the metagame at the previous weekend's events, 35 and 33, I want to say.
Is it Prowess?
Is it Prowess?
Yep,
Yes,
is it
you're right,
Prowess?
yep.
But the Jeskai also very popular. Jeskai Oculus, Jeskai Oculus, Jeskai Control. Green is not a popular color at the moment in Magic in Standard.
There's still some diehards playing Golgari. There's a Bug Otters player in the room.
There is a Bug Otters player in the room.
You see the green in some of the aggro decks as well. Some of these. You got
to get a Giant Growth out, or a Questing Druid. But yeah, the color pie is looking suspiciously off center at the moment. Yeah.
Well, we've got 8 rounds here today, as we're going to be giving out 10 invites to Pro Tour Edge of Eternities in Atlanta in October.
That's exciting.
We have 222 of the best players in Australia in that room, through that wall, playing Magic on their lunch breaks right now. 8 rounds. It's going to be a long day, and we've got a great team to bring it to you. We've got myself, we've got Rihanna.
Yep.
We've even got 2 other commentators who you're going to see in the next round.
And it's not just going to be us 2.
So stick around as we're going to take a break, and we'll be back shortly with round 2 for you.